Okay. Welcome everyone. Thank you for letting me know. I hope that it seems like there might be some issues with logging on. So I'm gonna have to check to see if I can change that. Let me pause the recording really quickly. Okay, so we're gonna start again. Hopefully we don't have too many more technical issues. Um, so it's 2024. Happy 2024, y'all. And I'm CiCi Baudouin with Wise Woman Evolving. Today, we're going to talk a bit about heart-centered awareness and how to use it to create more abundance, more success, more prosperity in the new year. But we're also going to bring in other issues, whatever you may be coming to the table with. For those who are new here, and especially those who might be listening to this recording later, where it might be published on YouTube or other places, just a little background about myself. I've been a practitioner and coach for well over 30 years. It started off in holistic nutrition and hypnotherapy, and then kind of went from there into everything else. And so now I do a lot of transformational coaching. I really enjoy the work that I do with people. I love working with people. Um, I worked for many years, I specialized for many years in chronic and autoimmune issues, especially MS and lupus and things like that. However, what I have found that in working with the physiological issues that a lot of people come to the table with, what we find is it all starts somewhere, right? The body, the cells, the brain, the organs, endocrines, body parts, etc., hold on to traumas, emotions, belief systems, believe it or not, and that can create illness or dis-ease in the body. And so what I've gone back to was a lot of the spiritual work, because when we dive inside and we're willing to see what's going on in there, then we can begin to heal on many, many, many levels. And that's why we work with body, mind, and spirit. Not that spirit needs healing, right? Spirit's already perfect. It's being able to access the information from there to heal the body and mind, to work within the body mind mechanics. And really, the only way out of something, out of an issue, whether it's financial issues, relationship issues, any health issues, no matter how mild or severe, how acute or chronic, the only way out is from the inside. And that's something we have to remember. It's really about being an inside game. Stress, frustration, chaos. We've got to be able to try and pull out of the stress so that we can begin to receive healing, receive prosperity, receive abundance, receive love. We feel like we have to give and give and give, but sometimes the way to give best is by allowing ourselves to receive. When we allow ourselves to receive what is already there for us, then we can begin to give more, love more, and achieve more in life. I was working with a client earlier this week or last week. I can't quite remember. And I remembered saying, I'm going to write this down because I want to bring this up on the group talk on Tuesday. And she told me one comment. She said, if everyone could see everyone else's aura, it would really change the world. And that struck me. Whether or not you believe in auras or the Wei Chi or being able to see things, it doesn't matter. The idea is if we could all see through to the other person, see through their what they are busy being in the moment or acting out as, and see with compassion, through the eyes of compassion, what might be going on in their lives. what they've been through, where they're coming from, their perspective. Then we can better have more compassion, more love, more understanding, more appreciation. And when we shift our consciousness into that state, we'll find things flow more. Again, we've got to let go and allow the flow in life. But when we allow that flow, there's more exchange back and forth, not just from us to them or from them to us, but both ways. And that's where the magic happens. That's what we like to focus on. I started out before my little technical issues, and I appreciate everyone's patience through that. To say, in case anyone else has hopped on here, if you want to put in the chat anything you'd like to work on today in particular, please let me know. We're going to throw that all up on the clipboard, so to speak. And whether or not you're in on the call live today or listening to the recording 10 years from now, the way this works, just to give you a little idea, is we want to, it's all about intention. So I set the intention before starting this, that whoever listens to this will benefit from it. And we set that in so that we're accessing the idea of no time, no space, because there's no such a thing as that anyway. And I know that's kind of hard for the human mind to wrap the head around. But I apologize, y'all. I'm gonna close my office door because my doggie is barking. She's often very, very quiet, but there's been some storms, and I think that kind of set her off today. And so any rumbling she's hearing, she's letting me know. So I apologize for the background noise. She should quiet up soon. But whatever we're bringing to the table, whatever we're working on, we're going to throw that on the clipboard. Receiving money and open heart. Okay, that's a good one. How to show up somewhere when you have to show up but don't want to be there. So that's a good one as well. And believe it or not, those two are tied together. Which is, going back to talking about how this works, it doesn't matter what you come to the table with. Somebody could come to the table saying, I want to work on my car issues just to help my car last a little longer, or receiving money, or loving more, or receiving love more, how to show up, how to want to be where we are, or be more present. Health issues, relationship issues. So the reason these are tied together is because how we do one thing is how we do absolutely everything. And that doesn't always make sense until you start to recognize that everything is related. Everything is just consciousness. And consciousness can show up in different ways, because for each individual, we may be here to work on 3 different issues per person, so to speak. Obviously there are often a lot more in life we feel like we're working on, and we beg for just one at a time. Sometimes it all comes really fast, but everything is connected. The cellular level, the level of tissue in the body, the level of the mind, everything is affected by our belief systems. And it'll show up in seemingly different ways until we get the lesson. And sometimes we feel like we're beating our head against the wall, because why is this person not changing when I do this and that and the other? And I keep trying to change the relationship, or make more money or something like that. And we have to remember that sometimes, or usually, it's not about the outside world. Again, it's an inside job. And it goes down to our belief systems. Sometimes that is affected by the environment, by our family history, Even before we got here, before we were born, it could be several generations back. We're going to throw all of that on the clipboard and see how we can start off 2024 to have a better year, a more successful year, a more loving year, a more compassionate year, and therefore a more abundant year as well. And remember, abundance isn't just about money. Money is just another form of energy. And we have to remember that too. But abundance and wealth can be with family, friends, connections, love, food, beauty around us. We have to remember there's a natural beauty. We just have to open the curtain or walk outside and take a look and enjoy what's there for us. So showing up in a bigger way will help us be able to show up somewhere when we don't want to be there. Showing up in a bigger way for ourselves, for others, means looking inside and asking ourselves, what do I need to work on to improve my side of things? And we can all hear that in a different way and want to play the blame game. That's very easy to want to do, but that blame game can't wind down, and we can't have more success or an easier time at the office or an easier time making decisions if we're not willing to look inside and say, what is my part in this? How can I see this from a different perspective? And perspective is where I want to really start to take a look at belief systems and recognizing where we come in from. And what I'm seeing come up now, we're kind of really starting into this session part of this. What I'm seeing come up now is a lot of heart chakra energy. And whether or not you believe in the chakras doesn't matter. They're energy systems, energy centers in the body, and they align around the spine, in the center of the body. This will also, when we're looking at this, and I see the question popping up, how to release anxiety from one's heart area. Perfect, because we're digging into that heart chakra right now. And what it feels like is the heart chakra is a bit off center. And a lot of times we see these pictures of the chakras being lined up 1, 2, 3, 4, just as straight dots. But it doesn't necessarily have to look like that to be in alignment. We want everything flowing together and creating more flow, keeping those energy centers spinning to bring the flow, the energy in so it can flow out, so that there's nothing stuck and building up too much, not too much excess or too little. And so to release anxiety from that heart area, we're going to tap into belief systems within mass consciousness. What I'm seeing now is, so we have divine consciousness, individual consciousness, and mass consciousness. Sometimes we pick up a lot of what's going on in mass consciousness because it's so intense around us. It's like walking into the room and there's been an argument and you can feel the air really thickly and go, what did I just walk into? So it's like that in the world as well, except we may not be as aware that we're picking up on other people's energy, other mass consciousness. Everyone's here. We're all part of the divine, but we're all here to play a different role, to serve in creating different experiences for the divine, for the creator, for God, for whatever name you want to give it, that creative energy. And It feels like there's a lot of scattered energy right now. It feels like there's a lot of, it's almost like looking under a microscope and seeing all these little dots and rods and wiggly things moving around and trying to make sense of it. So if you can picture looking under a microscope, and when we hone in there, we're looking at one little slide, but it looks like there can be millions and millions and millions of creatures wiggling and squiggling and squirming, and some not. Some are just lethargic, some are just seemingly dead. But everything is full of life, including our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our intentions. That's why our thoughts affect others. That's why this work works. You could be in Timbuktu and I could be sitting where I am, and you receive what you need from the work just through the power of your focus, thought, intention. And so we're looking at this mass consciousness, and it feels like we kind of feel surrounded by it, and we don't realize we're trapped in a bubble that we've created. This bubble of drama, chaos, etc., whatever experience we're having at the moment. It's our little creation, and we don't realize. Oh, I can see on the camera my Band-Aid. I apologize for that. That might be a distraction. I got a little bobo. So, but when we have this bubble that we're in, we can't see outside of that because we don't recognize we're inside of it, that we created that somehow. And so it's important to stop when we feel anxiety, whether it's in the heart area, it could be the mind going on the hamster wheel, so to speak. It could be somewhere in the body. We feel tension. We feel like we're catching our breath and we're not fully breathing. One, just with that thought coming up, one answer to that question could be just take a few deep breaths. Focus on the heart. Put your focus, bring your focus down to the mind's eye and allow it to just settle down in the heart area. When you do, you'll kind of notice that you may even gain perspective, and you may feel like you're back here looking out, looking at yourself, from a little bit above yourself. And that's accessing the space of the higher self. That higher self is the direct connection to the all that is. I remember living in Indonesia I went to Bali, and we greeted each other there. If you'd pass someone and you say hello, but we'd stop and Om Swastiastu. And that greeting basically is the same as Namaste. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. It's recognizing we are one and the same. When we live from that space in the heart, sometimes it means we have to remind ourselves, especially when we feel the anxiety, if we feel stress, if we don't feel present because we don't want to be where we have to be at the moment. Maybe it's at a family gathering that we really didn't feel like going to. I know people have gone through holidays, and things like that sometimes come up through holidays and whatnot. Whether it's a meeting, whether it's a dinner that you didn't want to participate in, but your spouse dragged you along to, or whatever it may be. Sometimes it's just a time to remind ourselves to drop down into the heart, take a few deep breaths and relax. Be present with yourself in the heart space, and be present with others where you are, whether it's just your dog or cat or birds with you, whether your family's with you, whether you're in a meeting with coworkers, whether You're at the grocery store and you don't feel like being there because you'd rather be home eating already, right? Just remind yourself that wherever you are there. Be fully present with it because we have to remember a lot of times what resists will persist. And if we keep resisting a situation, whether it's being somewhere we don't want to be or the feeling of anxiety, oh, I wish that would go away. I wish I could just get on with my day already. I wish, I wish, I wish. Um, it's like being at the dentist. He's not going away until that tooth is fixed. So the more you resist it, the more he's telling you relax. Or the more you resist it, maybe the numbing medication isn't going to work as well or something. And so you have to sit there a little longer and wait for it to sink in. Wait for the body to relax. Wait for the mind to relax. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Who knows? A lot of times the body is just responding to what we are thinking, feeling, and the story we're telling ourselves in our heads that keep us on that hamster wheel, that maybe keep us from being fully present. I'll share a little tidbit, a little personal story in hopes that it may help you. Lately, I've been struggling with a backache that just was really limiting my movements tremendously. And the pain had gotten so terrible that I started to feel like I don't know what else to do. I think I need some outside help. Of course, I started taking cayenne. For me personally, I find that really reduces inflammation and pain, and that helped, but it would wear off. I'd take a little bit more. The pain almost is gone when I started to face a few things that were going on in my life that were causing me a lot of distress. And it was me not wanting to fully be present because I felt like I was overworked and overloaded. And I knew that I wasn't able to serve others, but I felt like I had to keep giving and keep giving and keep giving. And until I recognized, you know what? I have to give to myself too. Because if I don't take care of me, if I don't set those healthy boundaries, even if people don't want to be around me anymore, then that may be just what has to happen so that I can heal, so that I can better serve others. Because in the end, it has to be about service to others, not service to the ego self. In order to serve the others, we have to serve our higher self first. And there's a difference between the higher self and the ego self. The ego self is the materialistic, the gimme, 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 the I want the fancy lifestyle or more this or more that. We want to serve the higher self. What is for my highest good right now? Because when we recognize what is for our highest good in that moment, and we work toward that, whatever it may take, it may be difficult. It may be telling people no. And it may be having to set some pretty firm boundaries around that. Whether we want to know what that's going to look like or not, it might be scary to think of what will come if we say no. But if it's truly for our highest good, in the end, it will be for the highest good of everyone involved. And we have to remember that. Out of that space, that's when we can start letting go of the stress and the back pain or whatever other pain may be irritating you at the moment. It may be a pain in the side, as in not wanting to be at the grocery store because you'd rather be eating already, or in the meeting because you'd really rather be home with your family, or in a particular relationship, or sitting at the red light maybe if we give in and stop resisting, it'll turn green a little faster. So I'm still looking under the microscope, is what I'm seeing, and seeing how mass consciousness is coming in more lately. And this happens. I think there's just a lot of strife in the world these days. Of course, I look back over my many, many years of being on this planet, and I realize how many times in life have I said that before? If it's not one thing, it's another. And that's where we have to remember to begin to calm within. Because again, it's an inside job, y'all. We have to remember we have to go within to try and stop the mind clutter. Again, try and remember we drop down here with consciousness. Bring in the divine consciousness and allow that to go down and sink into the heart space. And you'll feel that somewhere between the chest and belly, generally speaking. When we drop down into that space, we can bring more calm into our own minds, our own lives. That's how we get the mind quiet. Even if it's just for the itty bittiest split second, that quiet space allows us access to the all that is. So then we release the anxiety, we release the stress. And from there, we begin to hear more wisdom. Whether we hear it, think it, or think we think it, our thoughts are not ours. Feel it, just know it, we see it, however that comes in. Maybe that wisdom is what we need to say out loud and share with others to move things forward, to move the group forward, to move the meeting forward, to move the pain out of the body, to move our finances into a healthier space. Because again, I'm going to bring this up mainly. I know money came up. Someone mentioned in the chat, but also we have to remember it's a new year. At least in the calendar we're given right now these days. Some people say that's debatable, and I think that's an interesting topic of conversation. For 2024, for the calendar year we're given, we often look at the new year and say a new year, a new you. People like to set new intentions and I'm forgetting what the word is. But you know how we set up new intentions for the year, and we're going to change this and we're going to do that and whatnot. Instead of that, how about we recognize it is in resolutions? Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. I appreciate that. So setting resolutions. A lot of times people don't find success with that because they haven't recognized it's an inside job. They think we've got to make something happen. But if we can drop down and have compassion for ourselves, then hopefully we can stop the think it's and get into the feel it's, where it's at, gain that knowledge, gain that wisdom. And then the resistance kind of drops away. And when that resistance begins to drop away, we share wisdom that's coming in, and it might move the meeting along, move the health issue along, move the money. Money is just another form of energy, remember. So that more can come in, so that we can begin to choose with more wisdom and more authorities from within ourselves where and how we would like that money to go, instead of feeling like we're out of control and we don't know where it's going and why can't I figure this out and I want more. We can get out of that space and into the space of more flow, allowing more flow, allowing more energy to come in its many, many, many different forms, whether that's money or love or success or abundance. Maybe our garden is growing more and we have some more beautiful roses, or more fruit on the trees, or veggies in the garden, whatever that may look like. It can come in as a new car. It can come in as a gift someone gives us. That abundance and wealth can come in so many different forms. And if we're willing to look at that and have gratitude for whatever form that comes in, then often we'll find money will start flowing more freely, and we'll feel a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more relaxed and recognize it is an inside job. We begin to have more gratitude, and therefore that flow comes in more. And instead of being trapped under, on the slide under the microscope by mass consciousness, to go kind of bring things back around where we kind of started earlier, then we can begin to see, oh, I created that bubble. I created that experience. When we recognize that, we can rise above that and recognize if I can create it, I can make it go away if that's what I choose, or I can create something different instead. And then life does have more flow, and we gain more energy. We gain more excitement for life. We gain more insight into what's really going on in our own lives, our own bodies, our own relationships, careers, life itself. We also gain insight into what might be going on with others that might be creating that tension or that dis-ease or that mindset or their anger or their outbursts. Or it's like watching the child or toddler, they're beating their fists on throwing a fit, throwing a tantrum on the floor. And at first, first reaction is the mama wants to say, oh, no, you don't. But we have to remember, why is that child reacting that way? Something must be going on inside. When we can step back and take that perspective for the child, for our coworker, for our spouse, for our neighbor, for any friends, relationships, etc., and for ourselves, because relationship to self is what it's really about, then we can have that compassion and maybe empathy and begin to explore more deeply what's really going on. Sometimes it'll clear and shift like that. Sometimes it takes a little more work or digging a little more deeply or having deeper conversations, even within our own selves. If the issue is with another person or entity, maybe a corporate position or something, maybe the manager or the company, etc. If the other party, it seems like they're not willing to give, then we need to keep going deeper within and keep seeking inside. Have that compassion and look for what can change, even if it's the slightest shift within ourselves. That will immediately begin to create, whether we see the results immediately or not, a shift in the other side. And again, there's no two sides, we're all one, but in the human mind, we have to create that just to be able to understand the experiences we're having. So I'm going to use the word the other side. It doesn't mean there's an enemy. There's no enemy out there. We're all one, and it's all an inside job. When we can begin to see that we're not that little slide under the microscope, and therefore recognize it's all connected, and we drop down into the heart and allow the space to kind of clear a little bit, even if it's just a little bit, then eventually we'll get through that fog. We'll find more compassion and understanding for ourselves, if nothing else, which will help us to feel better. When we get into that space, then there's less stress, less anxiety. The heart can open up to a greater extent. And sometimes it moves in little bitty increments. Sometimes it just bursts wide open, like, the sun coming out after a huge storm. I'm from South Louisiana. We get hurricanes down here. And sometimes it's the stillness in the eye of the storm is so eerie, and it can brighten up again, but there's this looming what's coming next, the dark wall of the storm, of the other side of the storm coming. But in that little bitty spot, that momentary stillness, if we can recognize, yes, we're kind of bracing for the back end of the storm, which is the worst part, but at the same time, if we can see that light and remind ourselves, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We can hope that for other people who might be involved with where we are that we don't want to be, or the situation that we don't want to be in. We can hope that for others and hope that for ourselves, find it for ourselves at the very least. Release that, and then the tension begins to release. And we can connect the three brains, so to speak, the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. Remember, the gut brain is in the small intestine, the gut microbiome. It's considered by many to be the seat of the soul in different parts of the world. So we're making those connections with thought, emotion, getting caught up in things, with the heart brain, which is a lot more powerful than the head brain, and then connecting more deeply with the seat of the soul, the gut brain. Then we understand better what we see, what we feel, and how we digest that, how we process what's going on in the world, whether it's macro or micro, right? The world around us, it could be a little bitty environmental thing, like, why is there more dust coming through the window today? Or why is there more strife in the world? Or why is there more strife in my pocketbook or my relationship or at work or within? And again, the macro, the micro, the micro, the macro, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So y'all brought up some great issues to work on in the chat today, and I appreciate that, because it's not just about tension in the heart or anxiety. It shows up in other places in our body, whether it's the tip of our nose or the tip of our toes, or a shoulder, a hip, a backache. Or it could be more dis-ease that goes deeper. Maybe it's been there long enough. It causes bigger health issues. Whether it causes stress and anxiety, can lead to sadness. That's a good one. The knots in the stomach. Thank you for adding that in the chat. That's how we digest the world, but it's how we digest life, right? Sometimes we're thinking too much, we're stressing too much, or we're staying on that hamster wheel too much, worrying and allowing that stress to hurt the heart. And then we don't know why we can't stomach something or can't digest things fully, whether it's a meal or life, or a situation at work, or a situation in a relationship, or a relationship with money. They're all tied together. And the biggest takeaway is, if we can recognize, again, when we're having a struggle, if we can recognize how we do one thing is how we do everything, and start to look for what belief would I have to have, or would someone else have to have? That's a good way to access it. Don't put it on yourself. Look at out there. What belief would someone else have to have that experience, or that stress, or that worry, or that anxiety, or that illness? What other belief would someone have to have? Keep asking yourself that until you go, oh, maybe that's what's causing it. Sometimes that's enough to just shift it. But you recognize that sometimes staying on that hamster wheel, bring it down to inside and asking your own self to let it go. Recognize we can just drop down into the heart space. And it's easy to pop right back out into the stresses, the thoughts, the hamster wheel. When you catch yourself, just remind yourself, oh yeah, hold on, let me drop down into my heart space again. Find that space where you kind of, again, see yourself from back up here, right? From the higher self perspective. Have compassion for the other person, for the other end of whatever the issue is, right? It may not be a person. It may be a situation. It may be confusion about, what do I do with my life now? What do I do with my life next? Where am I going? Why am I here? It could get pretty existential when you really start asking yourselves these questions. Be willing to sit and explore that. Be willing to sit and ask that question while you're dropped down into the heart. Try not to think about it too much. Just allow answers to come. I think these days those answers are going to come faster and faster, because I think everyone in the world is accelerating at a faster pace to find more of their own growth, to tap into more of their own wisdom, to know, what do I do next? Oh, I have this job offer and I have that job offer. Or maybe I have no job offer. I want some job offers. How do I do that? Excuse me. How do I get that? Or looking for more money, or happier relationships, or smoother life. We back up, recognize. I'm going to go back to the wisdom when we find we're getting stuck or hitting obstacles. I want to back into that, because I feel like if we can recognize that life should flow, life should be easy. If it isn't, if we're having a difficult time making decisions, or a difficult time staying awake in a meeting or in class, or a difficult time accepting any particular situation or health issue in life, then it means we're doing something wrong. We need to back up and try a different route, one that's smoother. That will allow us to back up and gain perspective. Recognize, wait, I created that situation. Own it. Owning it, taking personal responsibility is the first step. Even when it looks like the other person, or the other, or the company, or the cashier, or what the other driver, whatever situation it may be, even if it's just obvious they are wrong, let's let the right and wrong game wind down and recognize the other person, the other thing, the other situation is the same as me. And having compassion is recognizing that just like me, they might be experiencing some difficulty, or some stress, or some hurt, some pain, some judgment. When we can recognize that, then we can begin to let go of the judgment of the situation, the person, the wrong, and let that go. Have compassion, send love to whatever it is. Maybe you're feeling like your car's not starting, and you often think, doggone it, my old car isn't working for me anymore. Well, remember, love that car. Be grateful. How many years did it serve you? And then maybe it'll start a little faster. Or have more compassion for the other person or the job or the space you're in that you'd rather not be in. And that will create less judgment, which creates more space, which creates less anxiety. When we have less anxiety, we feel less stress, and then answers can come more quickly. Answers that serve our higher selves and can therefore serve others. And it can be one-on-one, but that can have a greater effect in the bigger world we live in. So again, how we do that one thing is how we do absolutely everything. When we tie that all together, we're going to integrate that more deeply within the heart. The heart is the harmonizer. It's in the middle of the body, kind of side to side, top to bottom. Yeah, there might be, depending on how tall we are, maybe a little bit more going down than up, but our bodies are not, we are not our bodies. First of all, we have to remember that. And our heart energy is huge. The heart field just goes on and on and on if we allow it to. So we're bringing all of that into the heart for deeper processing, for more individuation. We do have to individuate. We have to grow up. We have to get on with life. We have to take personal responsibility. When we're willing to recognize where we could have taken more responsibility, then we can begin to forgive ourselves and better individuate, and more relaxation, more space, more energy will come, more energy to heal, whether that's a hurt, a deep wound, can be physiologically, can be emotionally, mentally, can be in the pocketbook. It can be in so many areas. And when we begin to heal and individuate, we process more deeply to find out who we are. And then we can take that and go out into the bigger world and help others, hold that space for others to become who they need to be. I hold that space for each and every one of you. I send you love, joy, peace, light, happiness in 2024 and beyond. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your wonderful comments. I hope that this does serve you in some small way that can end up leading to serving you in a greater way. May we all be able to reach out and touch the space that connects us. I'm here to hold that space for you all. Let's hold it for each other, and we can love each other, love ourselves more, create more flow of finances, love, abundance, prosperity in the new year, and be able to relax more in any situation we're in, even if it feels like we don't want to be there in that moment. Find out what part of you does want to be there, because you wouldn't be there if there weren't a reason. There's a reason for everything. We don't always know what it is. Sometimes we won't ever know what it is. But we have to remember every cloud has a silver lining. And there's a reason for absolutely everything. Whatever situation we find ourselves in, it helps to look for where Where can I grow from this? If we can find where we can grow from this, then we can just take off like shooting stars. And talk about life gets good at that point. In South Louisiana, I don't know if y'all have ever seen anybody on TV or nowadays the internet and everything. But a saying we have down here is talk about good, y'all. And I just want to share that with y'all, with the world, because life can get really, really good, really golden when we're willing to explore the inside game more and find that peace. With this, I'm going to leave y'all because we're just under an hour. I don't want it to go too long in case some of you are joining on a lunch break. Thank you all for joining me, for being here, for being present. Mostly, thank you for showing up for yourselves. By showing up for yourselves, you're showing up in a bigger way for the world. And we all need more of that right now. I love each and every one of you. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Please share this with anyone and everyone. I will publish this on YouTube and share that with y'all. Thank you all for joining me. Bless you all. Have a beautiful 2024. We're going to meet again next month. That would be February 2nd Tuesday, noon U.S. Central Time. The second Tuesday in February is the 13th. That's the day before Valentine's. So we're going to probably theme that around a whole lot of love. I love each and every one of you. Mwah. Until next time, take care.